What's going on, duelists? thePokeRapper here. Sorry this video took so long. I've been sick for about a week and a half. But this is the Iron Man Week 2 between Team X2 and Crow's Nest. I played against Corinna. There's only one more week after this, actually. And then we're going to be going right into the Edison War League that I'm very excited about. Hasn't started yet, but starting very soon. And I will be covering my matches and maybe some other matches as far as that goes as well. If you guys would like to see that, if you're not subscribed, please consider. It would mean a lot, and I love making these videos, and seeing the support is always really nice. So yeah, so here we go. Week 2, week 1 against Black Wings. Should we check the privacy and the terms while this is loading? Are you guys interested in that kind of content? So we got a frog mirror match here. Corinna got second place, I believe, at an RBT. She's a seasoned frog player, so definitely no scrub. No scrubs at all on either team. These are good games, but I will say this is not a good opening play, and I thought about this for a couple days after, because we opened Moray, luckily, with this subpar hand, but I opt to put back both Treeborn Frogs, where I think putting back a Frog and an Archer would have been the right play. For some reason in my head I thought once we have Frog in the grave, Archer will do more work, but one, you always kind of want to get Archer with Diva unless you draw it. And two, more importantly, we have Raigeki break, so why, break Frog, send the Frog, now we have Frog. Once we moray both Frogs back, we don't have a guaranteed access to Frog, even though we have Substitutes and Swap Frogs in 1-for-1 and stuff. But yeah, I don't like this play that I made right off the rip, and luckily we get punished a little bit for it, and it gets a little bit ugly early on. So this is our opening hand now. A lot of good the Raigeki break is doing, and knowing, not 100%, but under the impression that she's playing Frogs, I decided to make somewhat of a silly play here. But in my head, and how it's been in all the Frog testing I've done, mostly in Frog Monarchs, but I think it kind of comes into play in these matches too with the Junk Synchron decks and the other Frog variants. It is kind of a race to 8,000, and once you start putting damage on the board with a Monarch with 24, you put them at 56, 32. Once you get them under 8, you could Caius. It really seems like every turn you could go rise up, put your card back, attack. They Riser, Caius, attack. Like, you just want to be up in that 2200 damage in life point range, I want to say. So I actually opt turn 1 to make an Android, just to put a little bit of pressure on, knowing that they're most likely just going to have Swap Frog. This is their hand. I don't like to show that normally, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And going first, I think we have a nice advantage where, okay, we messed up, put ourselves in a weird hole, not having access to Frog. So let's try to do the next best thing now. And we know what we have to do. And now we have Raigeki break for a Gores. And so that's exactly what they do. Luckily for us, we do draw Frog, so now our Raigeki break has a really good pitch. If they do have Gores or anything, we don't have anything crazy to do here. We're just going to swing for 24. And they're actually going to drop Fader. They don't want to take that damage. And I guess this is a good time to look at the hand. Probably didn't have to drop the Fader here. Probably could have saved it more so for the end of the game, I want to say, when you're trying to protect yourself. And right now it seems, even though this seems contradictory because I just said it's the race to 8,000, I think you could buy yourself turns later on in the game when you're lower in life points and kind of make those turns back up by hitting me, as opposed to just protecting yourself from 2,400 right now, and then I'm going to gain another 6, so I'm going to be up 36. So she drops the Fader. And I think it's a little early for that, but her hand's not great. The one Ryza, how far is that going to go? I like to hold on to my faders as long as possible. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make here. So they econ, take the Android. I'm going to let that go because I'm expecting them to get rid of my Android with something, and I want to save this Raigeki break for when they actually do that. It makes sense when you see their hand, but when you don't, you kind of have to apply the logic to it. So I'm like, alright, they could summon, I'm thinking a Monarch, they could also Substitute, but whatever the case may be, I'm going to take the damage, and I'm going to force the cards out of their hand, and I'm going to save my Raigeki break for what I think is more important. So they do get my Android off the field for their Ryza, and here I Raigeki break. And we are going to get rid of that Ryza. Not really sure what we're thinking about 100% here. So we draw Substitute, good card to draw. But I'm going to Caius, and I'm actually going to Caius the Treeborn. Yes, we're not going to do 1,000 damage because it's not a dark monster, but now they're a turn back, and they have to summon Swap Frog again to send a Treeborn Frog, and that kind of gives us a turn advantage, which is pretty important in this matchup. So I say I don't want you to have your ultimate +1. So our hand's looking pretty good. They are pretty much forced. She's pretty much forced to summon the Swap Frog and send Treeborn. And now we could take a peek at the hand again. And it's not great, right? No Monarchs, no Junk Synchrons, not much going on. Still a Fader. Dupe's not looking good. So, definitely protection. Heavy Storm's not going too far against me, especially since one Raigeki break's already gone. So, forget you saw anything. And now we come back. And I have some options here. I think the play is to try to get my Dupe Frogs out of the deck as quickly as possible and set up Dupe Block. So what we're going to do is summon Substitute here and start fanning through the deck, but we want to go for the most damage possible at the same time, so we leave a Swap Frog on the board. We also want to get this Caius back into our hand because 2 Caius in the hand in this matchup is going to get us farther than I think Dupe Block and a Caius on field. I think maybe you could argue against that, but I pretty much always want my Monarchs in my hand if I feel safe enough on the board to do so. So they drop a Fader again. They don't want to take this 3,500, and yeah, so we're down a little bit in life. I'm gonna pop this Caius back to my hand. So last turn they summoned Swap Frog. So this upcoming turn is going to reveal a lot of what they have in my mind. Sorry, I sound so nasally. Allergies just been hitting me, been sick. I've been quite a mess. I set up my Dupe Block and I pass. So graveyard is set. We're looking pretty good. Very nice hand. And again, this turn is going to be very revealing because if they have Ryza or Caius, they're probably going to do it now. They opt not to get Treeborn back. They know it's their last one. They have no way of putting them back in their graveyard once they're removed from play. And they know we have a Caius. So if that Treeborn's not leaving the field, they really have no reason to bring it back. And they don't. And they summon Swap Frog. So there's a big tell. They don't have a Monarch. They don't have a very strong play right now. And they send a Swap Frog and they bounce it back and they pass. So not much they could do with this hand. They drew Unifrog, which is horrendous. And just kind of thinning the deck out with Swap Frog. Yeah, maybe they could set Dupe Frog. It's going to get Caius. Excuse me, really not a lot they could do. And it kind of shows right there how weak their hand really is. So now I'm thinking a lot about this, and they dropped Fader a couple times, and that probably should have telegraphed to me that they don't have Gores. So I probably could have attributed this for Caius, and they take 1,000, I swing. That's a nice 3,400. But I think about this for a solid minute or so. I know Mobius isn't going to go far in this matchup. if they have Gores, and they also telegraphed that they don't have a Monarch, so I really do think Caius is probably the better play here. And we have Dupe Block, but I'm playing super conservatively, and I'm thinking to myself, if they have Gores, which they probably don't, and they top deck a Monarch, or are pro-playing the absolute crap out of me somehow by making a play like that last turn, then they're going to get rid of one of my Caiuses in the Dupe Block, and even saying it out loud, I'm kind of just like, yeah, I still think Caius is the right play here. But I try to play extremely conservatively and go just for Mobius and not damage, so I can keep both Caius in my hand. So I draw Chunk Synchron, which isn't doing them a ton. Make a Black Rose, I think, right? 3. Yeah, they want to pitch and special summon Swap Frog. They could make an 8 with Treeborn. There's stuff they could do, but this isn't great because dupes are going to get their effects, and they're going to go minus with whatever. Their hand is still pretty bad. I think that could kind of be observed or noted at this point. So they don't do anything. My hand is just absolutely busted, and there's a bunch of stuff we could do here. We could summon Archer and equip and go for 44. I think I'm going to salvage Substitute and thin my deck even more to get Unifrog out of the deck and set up Flip-Flop Frog, which I stand by, and I think that's the right play. And we're sitting on a Diva that, yeah, Gilman's gone and Archer's in the hand, so Diva's only getting the last Diva in the deck. Yeah, so I think the only play here is salvage, bring back sub, summon it, tribute Treeborn Frog. Actually, and I think this is the better play, before any of that, swing for 24 in case they do drop something, and then we have Caius. They know we have it, so they're probably not going to drop anything if they have it, but definitely don't want to go for that little bit of extra damage between a Flip-Flop Frog and a Substitute. An extra 600 is not worth it when you could clear their field with Caius, so smart right there. And now I'm going to salvage, and I'm going to get Substitute and a Swap Frog back. Swap Frog guarantees us a monster on board, even though we will pretty much always have Treeborn. Swap Frog is a nice special summon. So flip-flop, flip it down, Unifrog ready to go. Now right here, we pass and they draw such a good card at the right time, which you can't even call it a sack because of how crappy their hand's been the entire time. And they're going to immediately drop Dark Dust, which kills our board. We get our Dupe Frogs, which is nice, but now Flip-Flop doesn't even do anything because this is going back to the hand anyway. And that kind of evens the game a little bit. They set a back row, I draw MST instantly, and knowing that Treeborn's coming back and that I want to start pushing a little bit harder now, I just MST it right off the rip to see what it is. Arguable that that wasn't the right play. I still think it's fine. And it's Scapegoat, and she chains it. Obviously, why would you let it go? But now I start thinking, I actually probably could have did it now. I actually don't know how much I like this play. I don't have a ton of damage to go for, but I could. They have Dark Dust Spirit, right? Oh, hold on. There's a cat that's trying to get in. Knowing they have Dark Dust Spirit, how much do we want to put on the field? We could summon Diva, get the last Diva, pitch Swap Frog, special summon Swap Frog, make your Aquesis, attack, put her at 33, and Caius next turn is 34. Oh, come on now, mama. Actually, it's only 24 because we can't remove itself. So I play a little slow this turn, and I don't want to go minus on any card. So I set Soul Exchange, I set a Swap Frog. The Swap Frog was free from the Dupe Frog. I want to see what they're going to do. We see a heavy storm out of their hand, and yeah, it's very interesting because I watched this replay a bunch, and we went into some really deep analysis with some other players about all of this. And yeah, I think right here, if I make the Yugioh's play and put her, actually it's only 21 direct, it would put her at 35, so not 33. If I can't even see it, it's 2100, I'm almost positive. And we're going to find that out next turn anyway. But yeah, so in my head, I'm like, I'm going to play it slow. I'm going to force them to do some stuff. And then next turn, we'll see whatever they have. They know we have Caius and Swap Frog. So they set a monster and pass. So I'm like, alright, their board is locked. I think now is the time to start going for some damage. Again, could have been last turn. Make Armory Arm, make your Queezus. It is 2100. So, nice Piercer. 21 puts her at 35. I set Mirror 4. So it's nice that we got Heavy out of there. Kind of, you know, played it funny by setting Soul Exchange and forcing it, but it kind of worked out for us. And now we're kind of forcing the DDS. But she actually has Caius. And I let this go through, and I'm starting to see the end game now. The Yugioh's got her pretty low. We're still doing great in life. I don't need this yet, and I think I'm not going to waste this yet. Worst comes to worst, I could pitch for Swap Frog. I could have used her right here to ensure my Treeborn, but I could do 1,000, put her at 24, and get even closer to our goal. We draw such a good card right here, and this is basically gonna end the game. I feel like as I'm watching this and saying it back, and this happened like 2 weeks ago now, so at the time I felt very fresh and on point, but as I'm watching it and trying to give you guys the logic and the reasoning behind it, I feel like I'm making it a little confusing, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I don't think we had to Mirror Force right there. I think we could pitch Frog for Frog and Caius, and then swing. Econ is obviously a great card to draw, and not taking the opportunity to your Queezus the turn before I think may have been a misplay, but I think doing it one turn late is still okay, and we get away with it. But if we don't draw Econ right here, if we Mirror Force, I mean, it's just Frog. It's not just Frog. Frog is the best, but we don't really have to. I mean, we could tribute Caius, get rid of Dewfrog and attack, and then force the Dark Dust Spirit. But we could also just get rid of it now, and we save our Mirror Force for the Dark Dust Spirit when they drop it. So I think that was the logic behind it, and I felt like it was very important to say that. So here we do draw enemy controller, and now the finish line is in sight while they are at 3,500. We're going to get 1,000 off this by pitching and special summoning, thinning the deck a little bit. Yes, we still have 1 for 1, but all the frogs are gone, and I'm going to take my chances. 1 more A is gone. I'm trying to do the numbers. 1 salvage is gone. So we have 3. We still have an archer, so yeah, we have a couple cards we could draw that we wouldn't want, but I don't think any of that matters at this point. So 1,000 damage off that, and we're going to swing out one of these goats, and we're going to econ it for another 24. And this, early in the game, with the 2 dupe frogs, we decided to bounce the Caius back because we thought we were safe enough, and now it's actually going to turn out to be a game-winning move. A lot of other cards fell into place, but you still want to prep for the long game, and now there's really nothing that her deck could do to put so much damage on me at this point. I think it's safe to show the hand now. So yeah, what could be done? Soft dupe block, DDS, any combination of synchros, but there's just no back row. So she makes Goyo. Now I Mirror Force, and they're thinking about it, but I just show the Caius to move it right along. So we win the first game. Couple interesting plays there and weird twists and turns, but happy with about 95% of it. So going first, we see just a back row. I didn't look at her hand right now, so I don't know what. Well, I do know what it is because I remember. But we get the green light to swap Frog right away, which is great. Get our first damage, always nice in this matchup. End phase. She scapegoats and summons Substitoad, and this is the first time I'd ever seen this. This is so nice. Substitoad scapegoat. That is an insane combo. But only one Treeborn has been sent, so a little information we're getting there. They have a Swap Frog and a Treeborn most likely. They DD Crow our Treeborn. We look at our hand. They're dupe locked and they're protected with Substitoad. We don't want to do anything crazy, right? I think it's completely safe this turn to just summon Swap, send our second Treeborn, set Threatening Roar, and pass. We don't want to lose any cards, right? We could save Gores for later. Salvage is going to come in handy most likely. Double Caius is great. This is a really good hand. And Diva is great. So they turn Subby to defense mode. They bounce it back with Swap Frog. They set a back row and pass. Pretty strong board. And now, I love all the options this deck has. What we could do is pitch Diva for Swap Frog to send Substitoad. Salvage back Diva and Substitoad to get a lock ready with our last Treeborn if they don't have DD Crow. And we could tribute Frog for Caius, get rid of this, attack the other one. I think that's the play we end up making. Salvage is nice because it makes the minus from special summoning Swap Frog not as minus. This is just a +1. This card is just insane. So she says that's fine. That's exactly what we do. Instead of going for my own dupe block, I am dropping the Caius now, and she's going to book this Caius. And we have Threatening, so I feel completely fine with that. Treeborn comes back, they Caius the Caius. I'm like, okay, we're at 39. We can't take 35, because then she could bounce back Caius, and next turn just win with Caius. So we're forced to Threatening Roar here. And then she bounces back Swap Frog instead of Caius, and looking at the hand, and I never asked her the logic behind it. Her and I didn't get into conversation about it entirely, because in my head, but I kind of want to pick her brain about it a little bit, because in my head, bouncing back Caius would have been the play right there. But she opts to bounce back Swap Frog instead. And this is a pretty subpar hand. I mean, with Econ and Brain Control and another Swap Frog and 7,000 life, I feel like you want Caius in the hand. So that's questionable to me. They set a back row and pass, and I draw what is just the absolute most insane card that there is. One of the best cards in Edison format, I think. I always get aggravated when people want to play any format that has Crush Card Virus in it, because that card is too broken. This card is at 3, and it's also so broken and so easy for a deck that plays 3 Deep Sea Diva to make, and 3 Caius, because you have Caiuses and Cadisters all over the place. So against Quick Draw, against this Junk Synchron variant of Frogs, Deck Devi goes so in. So we know we're on the clock a little bit. I'm going for it. Maybe, I mean, what are you going to do here? Set Raigeki Break, summon Substitoad, first and make Duplock and Raigeki break. I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. If I get this out of the way and I attack, I'm at 39. Yeah, they can't game us next turn because we have Gores and we have Raigeki break too. So if I Caius this right here and they pulling the rug or something, I think we're still safe. And we have Diva follow-up. So I go for it right now. Caius, remove Caius. Attack that Dupe Frog. I say she's going to get another frog to her hand that's going to get deck devied. I set 2. If that was MST, that would have been a little scary. It would have been a coin flip, and I don't wait. I deck Devi right off the rip. Sometimes you want to wait. It depends on the situation. They're going to get frog back in standby, and when you deck Devi, well, if she didn't have a back row, they would get frog back. But if you deck Devi, then it still comes back. And if you wait until main phase 1, they have action. So you kind of have to let it go to main phase 1. But here I know that she has a swap frog in her hand, a treeborn frog in her hand, and the swap frog that she just added. So 2 swap frog minimum. And we see this hand just go to the graveyard. Basically the entire hand, which is just unbelievable. And now it's completely fine to show the hand because we have all the info except that back row. So a game that was, we were low on life, the scapegoat substitute play was really nice. A game that could have went either way. I mean, especially with all these cards. And the swap frogs aren't doing anything crazy, but junk and brain, I mean, it's getting pretty ugly for us. And now we look like we're completely in the driver's seat here. So they're going to Rhoda, junk, they're going to try to put the pressure on us. And I thought about this play for a couple minutes. I thought about Raigeki breaking the back row and dropping Gores. But we're at 15 and we know they have brain control. It leaves me a little worried, because if we do that and we drop the Gores the next turn, we do block, and then brain control Caius, brain control, take the Gores, Caius, remove a dupe, attack the other dupe. I guess we get Frog back, could summon Diva, make Yugioh, but I still didn't feel 100% great about it. Even though it looked, there are just some scenarios where she could top deck really good stuff in my head and win, and I didn't want to get that low, so I actually end up Raigeki breaking the Android away. I mean, draw Moray, which is doing nothing right now, but we're free to set up Duplock, which I feel fine about, even knowing she has brain control. Still just sitting on a back row, so Frog's not coming back. Didn't come back last turn. Not sure if it's going to come back this turn. And she actually does top deck Caius, which is crazy. So, instantly comes right out. Probably the best way to get around Dupe Frog. I miss both my Dupe Frogs from sacrificing a monster that has an effect. I think when you tribute for Dupe Frog, you miss the effect anyway, because the last thing that happened was a monster hitting the field. And the other one got removed, yeah, so that's a great top deck, but we saved the Gores for this occasion, so all we don't know is this mysterious back row. Well, now you know what it is. We draw a flip-flop, and I feel we see one book. Kind of put her on a book right here. If it's Mirror Force and she draws, if it gets back Treeborn, has another Monarch, then we just lose. What are you going to chalk that up to? That Yugioh is a game of reads, and I don't want to... I mean, you can't book the token. I could leave Gores in defense mode attack, but if they Mirror Force and have another Caius, then we lose. So I saw one book. I'm saying I'm trying to get this Caius off the field right now. I guess I will die to Mirror Force in the top deck third Caius if that's what it comes down to, but I'm not gonna. I don't know. Made sense in my head. Yeah, but I guess it also, we know it's econ, but we are thinking at the time it could be econ. I don't want to lose to that, even though this can't be booked. It can be econ, so if we turn this to defense and she econs this and turns it to defense, then that still opens up Treeborn, third Caius, remove, and have two Caius on the field. This would be in defense. So she couldn't game us. I guess we could have left Gores in defense. Well, that's debatable. That's debatable. Definitely questionable. But she lets it go. She lets the 24 go through. I want to leave flip-flop in my hand for Moray. We see she draws Threatening Roar. She shows it to us. Sets it. We're like, alright, we're just going to waste a turn here. I draw my Diva. Still have Gilman, Archer, and Diva in the deck. But I think we kind of want protection here, even though we could be putting this on an MST that got set. It is now kind of punishing, but they thought about our attack last turn over the Caius, kind of telegraphing that it's not an MST unless they're just trying to pro play it. So I kind of want some protection here, putting her on this not being MST. Alright, I guess I don't want protection. I think there's an argument to be made for Moraying right there, honestly. Because if I'm not going to set the flip-flop frog, and we're going for protection, I think that's another questionable play. I think you can Moray agreed right there, honestly. I really do, and try to draw stuff. Even though this is... Diva's really, really good if she does draw something insane, so we're kind of hanging on to it. I don't mind being patient right there either. I guess it could go either way. So, yeah. We attack, she threatens, she draws a creature swap. We draw Raigeki Break for our turn, so there's our protection, being patient being patient paid off. But here is a misplay in my mind, 100%. She's at 25, 24, and 100 is game. 27 is game. I am 100% on the idea that this is not Mirror Force. It's either Book or Econ or MST. So this needs to get turned to attack mode, and we need to attack for game right here, 100%. And I don't do that, and that is a huge mistake, I think. And I was very unhappy with myself about that. This gets Econ'd. We leave her at 100. Open the door for Treeborn to come back. I don't think we saw the creature swap, because we were done with deck devy. We still have I mean, look at the position we're in, but this needs to be in attack mode. You gotta end the game when you can end the game. So I'm gonna Moray now to go for more protection. Still questionable. I mean, Diva's insane to have. But when you're at 100, my thought process is we could just go for game right now. We have two Kais left in the deck. We also have Raigeki Break as protection. So we messed up with the frog, definitely. I was unhappy with that. And I looked at this and I said, she's at 100 Caius right now is game if we don't draw Caius. We're at 15. She has a mystery card number 2 when she draws for turn, and a Treeborn Frog. We have Raigeki Break. She's going to need a good combination of cards to get around Gores, a 2400 token, and Raigeki Break. So I go for it, and we do draw the Caius, and that is the game. If we didn't draw the Caius, I think we were still in completely good enough shape. And yeah, I don't think there's any argument to not attack with the Treeborn Frog right there. If it was Mirror Force and it was a crazy pro play, then we have Summon Deep Sea Diva, leave Moray in the hand, set Raigeki Break, make something nice like an android. And I think we would have been okay. But we got there with the Caius. I think we would have been okay. Again, now I'm just kind of going in circles. But overall, I like making these videos because it makes me question my own plays, but it also opens the door for conversation for what other players may think would have been right at different times throughout the game. So I'm happy with probably 90% of the way that I played games 1 and 2. Obviously, I pointed out a couple things that I wasn't happy with and a couple things that I was on the fence about. But that is the way the game played out, and we ended up taking the win, going to the final week, which is going to be against Dimitri, who was the only crow left. He needed to get through 3 players, Masha, myself, and then Phil, and then Crow's Nest would have won. He actually beat Masha and then had to go against me. If he beat me, goes against Phil. If I win, then Team X2 is victorious. We will see how that went. I promise not in another week and a half. I'm feeling well enough to make videos, so expect that very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you think about my play and my commentary. If you know, any feedback, positive or negative, is always appreciated very much. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.